Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. So we're talking about the process of just buying a house. In this market, it's a little different than what we've been used to, right? It's not the bare knuckles boxing match of 2022, or at least the first part of it. Certainly not 2021. So what do we do? How do we approach this? How do we, frankly, take advantage of this opportunity? Because for so many folks, you know, it's gone the seller's way for so long that, buyers have, everybody wants to feel like they win, right? And especially those that are competitive like me. I'm a competitive person. My kids are competitive. I mean, it's just how my life goes, right? It just seems like no matter what happens, there's some sort of competition attached to almost everything I do in life. But hey, it keeps me sharp and keeps me on my toes, especially with the youngins. But anyways, we were talking about the 3 different stages that people go through when buying a house: aspirational, research, and transactional. And so we were just talking a little bit about the aspirational phase, where, I mean, it's basically, at least for me, defined as you guys have had a conversation about wanting to buy a home. You just don't know where, when, or how, but you figured out the why, right? The why is, well, fill in the blank. So what is it that agents can do for folks in the aspirational phase? Well, again, I can tell you what they shouldn't be doing, which is trying to like push a pre-approval on you. And if you're just in no way, shape, or form ready to transact, and logistically it's not going to happen, like there are things that actually need to happen before you buy a house. Maybe you need to get that raise, or maybe you need to save up more money for a down payment, or if there are true like logistical roadblocks, hurdles in your way, and you don't have the ability to move them out of the way extremely quickly, then, talking with an agent about going to see specific homes and getting pre-approved and so on and so forth isn't top priority right now. What you should be doing is figuring out, where do I want to be? Where do I not want to be, right? We talked about the process of selection versus the process of elimination. And I like the process of elimination, frankly, a little bit better. Tell me what you don't want, and then I can tell you what's left. And then from there, we can be more picky and choosy. Part of the problem with that, of course, is we need more inventory. There's just hardly anything for sale. These next 2 months, 3 months will be a very telltale sign as to the direction of the market. Because as of right now, we're behind schedule on new listings hitting the market. And because of that limited amount of choice, prices are staying fairly stable. So there's a pretty big tipping point in this market right now, which I think is motivating to most, especially now that interest rates have come down a little bit. So after just learning more about the different areas and why you might be interested in those areas, and then doing your own research, driving around, getting to know the community, talking to other people that that live in those communities, what do they like and don't like? That I think is really important. The research phase, I think, is really when an agent steps in and is truly helpful, because the research phase is defined as you are actively trying to identify what you want to buy and where, and you're really putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And that's from like the buyer's scope, right? They want to have a really clear plan on, hey, if something comes up in this neighborhood for with these types of features and this price range, we want to know about it. We want to look at it. And hey, if the stars align, then shoot, we might even make an offer on it. In the research phase is also, in my opinion, when you meet and hire your agent and meet and at least have a discussion with a lender. Okay. There are way too many people out there that have something messed up on their credit report that do not take the time to address it. You've got, as it relates to the lender, I know that this is a touchy subject for a lot of folks, but I don't mind. And I can't see you, you can't see me, so there's no awkwardness, right? Which is one of the great things about radio. I just get to tell it like it is. If you're not giving a lender the opportunity to review your credit and do some mortgage planning with you, you could be losing out on tens of thousands of dollars, period. I've seen it happen way too many times where somebody has some sort of mistake or error or something on their credit report that they had the opportunity to address, but now they don't have time because they just decided to wait for the right property to hit the market before they did any of those things. They don't want to lose it. They know that after the fact, had they spent some time with the lender actually going through a planning process, they could have saved a bunch of money. Well, they can't now because they risk losing the house. So they'd rather have the house. Why not have both is the point. So take some time when you're like 6-ish months away from transacting, because the research phase, which is what we're talking about right now, is typically like 3 to 9 months away from closing on the property. The aspirational phase is like 9+ months out. But it's when you should talk with a lender. Get them to just put some eyes on your credit, on your debt to income ratio, and let them have a conversation with you to help you. All they're trying to do is help you save money. That's it. And of course, if they can earn your business in the process, great. But because interest rates change so often, even on a daily basis, the lender that you talked to, in January that had this interest rate versus the lender you talked to in March with this interest rate, you're not comparing apples to apples. But what you can do is you can look at the cost of doing business with them, not the interest rate, but the cost associated with doing business with them. Other points. What are the fees associated with working with that lender is what I'm getting at. But also, what is it like to work with that lender? What's the customer service look like? Am I willing to, because not every lender that I'm going to refer to you is the absolute cheapest. Those options exist. Of course they exist. And there's no way my lenders that I prefer to refer business to would still be in business if they weren't extremely competitive, if not better than the masses in their field as it relates to interest rates. But it's not the only thing. Sometimes having somebody sit down with you and just go through the process, know what to look for, how to address it, how to fix it, can save you real money. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars. I've seen it happen time and time again. So this is when you meet your lender, in my opinion, or get to know somebody that you feel confidently can get your loan closed because they've kind of gotten in the weeds a little bit and they've looked at your financials, but they've also provided you with some opinions, so on and so forth. This is also, I think, when you meet your agent. Too many times buyers are out there and they're doing their own research, right? Again, this is the research phase. So they're out there and they're looking at properties and they call up a listing agent and they start asking them questions about the property. And, listing agents some of them are good at asking questions that are designed to understand your level of motivation or your financial wherewithal as a buyer so that they can use that information to improve their client's negotiating power. Don't forget that you're calling the agent that represents the seller. So be careful what you say. And, what you say can and will be held against you. So that's a very important thing to, I think, if nothing else from this show, please walk away with the understanding that when you're calling listing agents and you're asking a bunch of information or asking a bunch of questions, they're going to do the same thing. And since they don't owe you, the things that they owe their client, they're not going to represent your best interests. They are not contractually bound to represent your best interests, but they are to the seller. So guess who's going to go and relay the details of that conversation? Be very careful on that. But maybe that's a good way to interview agents, see how they handle themselves. Now, just because an agent might ask you a question like that doesn't mean it's an agent you shouldn't work with. In fact, I would argue that that's an agent you probably should be working with because they know how to stack the deck in their client's favor. So there's nothing wrong or unethical about that. And, you have to have an understanding of license law and the difference between customers and clients and the services and duties provided to either or both. But that's pretty basic stuff. But in the research phase, it's when you meet your lender. I think it's also when you meet your agent so that they can use their wealth of experience, their connections, and all of this time and energy they've put in their career to pass on the help to you, the savings. Like all these different folks we work with that are important parts of the process, whether it's the closing attorney or the lender or contractors. I mean, that's probably the most frustrating issue that people deal with, especially in this area, is dealing with contractors. Who are the good ones? Who should I not be working with? Can I find somebody that's actually going to show up on time, do what they say they're going to do, remain in budget, and finish when they say they're going to finish? I mean, it's, you would think that we're talking about a unicorn with what we as Charlestonians have become used to. Well, I'm just here to tell you that, first of all, nobody's perfect. I have fantastic resources, fantastic vendors there because of the amount of business we do with them. We have pass-through savings that we can help you with. We don't obviously pocket anything for that. We just believe in providing you with a true all-star team. Let's give these folks the best of what we have to offer based on the 17 years I've spent interacting with people in this market, right? And so we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the transactional phase of buying a house. So we've talked about the aspirational phase. We're thinking about it. We've talked about the research phase. All right, let's start putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Let's figure out who we're going to be working with. Let's assemble the team. Now let's talk about the transactional phase when we come back. Stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. And remember, if you want to reach out to me to help you with buying a home or selling a home, we've got all kinds of different incentives, commission plans starting as low as 2.4%. Feel free to give me a call, 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065. Or go to our website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.